So great, finally we are here so we can do the recipe show. As you can see, nothing fancy. We have the cover image, we have the featured badge, and then we have the number of views, which category it's published at, the title, flags, excerpt, and those things. And you know, those are super delicious when you are trying to make them dynamic. Since we have all the details already in our database, I'm just going to go ahead immediately to my PHP storm so we can begin coding this. And as usual, the starting point is always the routes. So I will go to my routes and I will just go ahead and create something new called recipes and then the recipe itself. So here we will create a new controller called recipe, which does not exist. I will create that in a second, and I would like to change the name to recipes.show. So now how can we generate a new controller? It's easy. You just go to our project and then we make a controller called recipe controller. With the controller created, I can just go ahead immediately and import it. So I can just create a new function /action called show. And I know that I'm going to type hint the recipe here, or I'm going to do a route model binding here. So now we have recipe, or we should have a recipe. So let me then dump it so we can see it. I will go back to my project and I can simply visit recipes /1. And indeed, those are the details related to the first recipe. So let's just now create a view dedicated only for this. So I will return a view called recipes.show, which does not exist. And using compact, I'm going to just pass the recipe as variable. Let me just go ahead and create this view. And inside it, as usual, the first thing to do is to extend our layout, which is website, then have one section called title, and this is going to be the recipe title. Below it, we have one more section, which is simply the content itself. When it comes to what to place inside this one, we know that we can just take them immediately from our HTML. So I will go ahead to my main and I will just copy everything inside. Let's get back to PHP Storm. I'm gonna paste it and I'm not gonna do anything except fixing the images. So let me just fix every image slash with / and then image. And now let me just get back to my controller so we can remove this so we can see what we did so far, and everything seems to work just fine. Right now we can move on and make things dynamic. So as a start, I will just go at the very top and I will just do the featured. So we did this before. It's super easy actually. We just have to simply wrap this badge with an if condition. So this is our condition, which is going to be if this recipe has this mutator, which I did me and you guys. So now it will appear or disappear based on the database details. So we can get back and continue working. For the image, again, I'm just going to hard code it for now so we can do it later on. When it comes to the views, this is pretty easy. Nothing to do here. We are just going to display it right out of the database. So those are count view, or was it view count? Let me check out the database quickly. I forgot. So it's a view count. Okay, cool. Count view. Okay, what was that? Okay, view count, and now we would like to display simply the category. So we know for a fact that inside the recipe model, we have a relationship called category. So I can immediately reach out to this relationship and simply display the title of this category. And that's it. So for the title, this is the recipe title. As you can see, it's pretty easy and nice, really. When it comes to the flags, we know that we did that before, so I can simply go ahead and make it as a component there, so I can get back and use it here. So let me just grab it as a component. So this is the flags. So let me just go ahead and create a whole new component so we can simply use it there. And I would like to name it recipe features. Yes, I would like to pass those two variables, and as it is, I can right now simply go ahead and replace all of this with this one. We have the recipe and we're just going to pass the flags. So for me not to forget it, I'm going to get back to my controller and I'm going to immediately define a new variable called flags, and I'm going to just retrieve it out of my model. Let me pass this one using compact, and now we are good to go when it comes to the features. So this one, I know that this is the excerpt, so I'm just going to go ahead and just write excerpt here. And if we to continue now, so we have here the number of people or the number of servings, which is again something pretty easy to display. So recipes, and again, I forgot what's, oh no, servings. So now we are going to do something pretty fun, which is we would like to calculate the amount of minutes and simply display it here. And if this amount simply passes like 1 hour, so we are going to display something like this one, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes. So based on the data that we have, we might display something like this or something simpler like this. So in order to do so, I would like to just go ahead and get back to my model so we can create two mutators, something like this one. However, we would like to change it a little bit. So I know for a fact that the column name is simply prepare time and cooking time. What I would like to have is actually something similar to those. So I can right now just go ahead immediately and use them in the view. So let me just give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. So let me just go ahead and grab those two. So we can just go ahead and write recipes and this, and then those two. So now I can do such thing easily, but right now we are displaying the amount of minutes regardless of how many hours maybe it have inside. So if you to get back right now, we are displaying simply 10 minutes and 15 minutes because this recipe has only one. But let me try a different one. As you can see, this one is a pretty good example because right now we are saying 60 minutes. I would like to write here 1 hour, which makes much more sense, right? So for more readability, I would like to just have 2 more mutators, or you can just think of them as like attributes on the fly or magic attributes, and those are going to be prepare time underscore formatted and cooking time underscore formatted. And in order to do this, we are going to use the mutators I just mentioned earlier. So let me just go ahead immediately and create one. So this one is going to be prepare time formatted as we wrote it there. And this one is going to just simply have one simple equation. We are just going to take out the minutes, and this is going to be the minutes out of our attributes. Let me just copy this one. So out of this attributes, and specifically we would like the column which is called prepare time. And this is going to hold the whole amount of minutes. But let me just take out of this one the amount of hours. So we can super easily do so by just going and dividing the whole amount of minutes by 60 and just rounding it down so we can take the correct integer number. And with this, actually we just have to figure out how many minutes left. So let me just go ahead and again write the minutes. We can override the value of this one and it's going to be the minutes. However, how much left out of the 60s? This is going to just hold off the remaining value of the amount which is not divisible by 60. And as simple as this, I can just go ahead and just maybe enhance it a bit. I can right now just figure out if there are hours, simply I can write something like hours and then hours, next to it minutes, and then minutes. Otherwise, I just would like to have minutes and minutes. So this is pretty decent in my case. You can just go ahead and enhance it. If maybe for some reason this one is 0, you can just go ahead and just omit this part if you wish and just end up with only writing hours. It depends again on the project needs. Maybe if you would like to refine it, be my guest. But in my case, I will stop here for a second and I'm going to duplicate this one so we can just try it. So this one is going to be, instead of prepare, it's going to be the cook time. Was it cook or cooking? It was cooking time, I guess. Cooking. Let me get back and double check. Yeah, it was cooking. Okay, I have the memory of a fish here, of a golden fish. Okay, let me just refresh it, and obviously I did something wrong as usual. Okay, as I guessed, simply I have triple T here, so it was a silly issue as usual. Okay, this is coding, guys. You're going to face such kind of things from time to time. Okay, so right now, as you can see, we have duplicate because we have like a static content. Let me just delete it in a second. So now, as you can see, it makes just so much more sense. Again, as I told you, you can just go ahead and refine it if you have only one, like 0 minutes. In fact, let me just do it right now because it will make much more sense readability wise. So I will just get back to here and convert this one into an if statement. So as an output, by default, I don't want anything. However, if we have like the minutes, which is more than 0, then we now can append it kind of thing, right? So let me just go ahead and overwrite it since it's already empty. And I would like to make it with double quotes so I can use a variable inside it. And here we have the minutes, only if it does exist. And now for the hours, I'm going to do the same exact thing. If the hours exist, then I'm going to just have the hours and then hours. However, right now I can easily append to it the output which we have before. And I believe that's it. Let me just try it before. I tried it before, but let me just try it again. I was thinking that I have to take this one actually from prepare time to the cooking time as well. So if you would like to just extract this one to something better, or if you would like to actually enhance it, I don't like it much, honestly. Actually, PHP Storm is already telling me to do so, so let me just go ahead and do it. So I will just extract it into I don't know, let's say, so as easy as is, thanks to PHP Storm, right now we have this decent function and we used it in these 2 places. So this seems to be really good. Let's just try it. So as you can see, here we have the number of minutes and the number of hours. And if we were to get back to the previous one, it works just fine. So we are good to go, guys. We can just go ahead and proceed with something else. So next we are just going to proceed with our view so we can move everything to become dynamic. Okay, here we have 2 examples of the video. So if I were to just get back and show it to you guys really quickly. So here we have two formats of video. If we have a video, it will appear like this, otherwise it will be disabled like this. So that's why we have like two items here. Let me get back to my PHP Storm here. We have two items called video, and this is pretty easy. I mean, we just have to say that if the recipe has like a YouTube URL, then we are going to display it, otherwise we're not going to display it. This is it, nothing fancy here. But I would like to proceed going down so we can do those things. When it comes to instructions, we know we have it as a column, so I would like to just write recipe instructions. Was it instructions or directions? I always forget such kind of things. Okay, instructions indeed. Okay, so we have instructions, and when it comes to the recipe, this is going to be the description. So I'll just go ahead and put it like this, recipe description. And for the video, again, we know that we have to actually wrap it with if statement. So if the recipe has a YouTube URL, then I can use it, which means that I can use it here. Okay, so I know for a fact that this one is kind of something nifty, something a bit hard maybe to do as a start, because what we have in the database, let me show it to you in a second, which is only the YouTube URL itself, not in an embedded format. So this is kind of an issue when it comes to opening like iframes. Actually, it won't even work. So let me just get back here and refresh. So here what we have a normal YouTube URL. And in our case, I would like to convert this one into something which I can use inside the embed, which has to be in this specific format. So in order to do so, I would like to extract the video ID out of this value. And super easily can do so using one of the amazing built-in tools inside Laravel, which is this str class. It's an amazing class with various utilities. So you can just use it from this namespace. So I would like to have the after. After as a function is really great. You give it a subject, then after a specific string, it will just go ahead and do the trimming. So after the v equal, let me try if I'm doing this wrong. All right. Indeed, this is actually the video ID. So as simple as that, I can simply just use it inside the URL, the embedded URL, which is here. And let me just wrap it with two curly braces. And now this should work fine. Let me try it because this recipe has a video anyways. So let me zoom out. And it seems like it's working just fine. So I can proceed actually and do the notes. And this is something really pretty easy. By now you just know the drill. It's super easy. And for the tags, for now, we don't have them. We are going to do them later, but I'm going to just write here tag, and then I'm just going to give it like a sequence so I can remember what's going on here with this one. And after the tags, we just have actually the featured recipes, which is the hand-picked recipes, and the sidebar for sure. So let me just do first of all the hand-picked recipes, and then we can just go ahead and do the sidebar. So when it comes to the featured recipes, I'm just going to grab one of them as an example. Then I'm going to use here for else. So we can just simply display that no data if there are no data. So inside the empty, I'm just going to go ahead and write the component that we have, which is x no data. And here I'm just going to loop through something called featured recipes, which we don't have. I'm just going to pass it in a second as a recipe. And here I'm going to paste the HTML, and then we can just easily go ahead and do for the images right now random number 106 as usual. And for the title, I'm just going to go ahead and write the recipe title. And I know for a fact that the design of this specific recipe is pretty small. So I would like from now, I would like to just trim it a little bit. So let me just use again that helper str class, and I'm going to just limit the characters for something like maybe like 30 characters only. So this one will truncate the string in order just to have visually more appealing card. With the view being done, I just have to pass this variable, right? So let's just get back to our controller. And here I'm going to define a new variable, and this one is going to retrieve the featured recipes. So in order to do the featured recipes, I'm just going to have, like usual, what you know guys, which is the recipe model. And then I'm just going to have it maybe like take only 3 recipes and then the get, if you remember. However, I would like to have, first of all, if it's featured or not. So let me just have it as where not null, as we know that column featured at. Please remember that you can't use is featured because this one is only a mutator, does not exist in our database. but this one does. So let me just do them on one line. And now let's just enhance the logic just a little bit. So maybe we can first of all avoid having from the featured recipes, the recipe which we are showing right now. It doesn't make sense. So let me just avoid this one. So where the ID simply does not equal to this current recipe ID. And one more thing maybe to do or to remember, that we should have them with the same category, so it will make much more sense. So category ID, and then has to be this recipe, the recipe that I have, and then underscore category underscore ID, which means I'm trying to avoid the one which I'm viewing. I'm trying to grab all the recipes which are in the same category, and then all the featured ones, I'm taking only 3, retrieve it please from the database, and that's it. So I will just pass this variable to my view, so we can just try it. Hopefully I did everything correct, and it seems so. So we have here right now 3 recipes. They look very odd. So as a quick fix, I'm just going to have here column 4, so we can just have them next to each other, so we can avoid the previous view. So with those hand-picked recipes done, we can simply go ahead and do the sidebar. And this is pretty fun. I'm very excited about this one because we are going to use something new. We are going to use something called view composers, where we can have like a global data passed to our views, because I know for a fact that maybe down the road I would like to have a blog or something else in the website. So this sidebar could be simply shared with multiple views. And the same thing actually applies to the sidebar here, and the same thing applies to the footer. So I'm going to show you guys how we can simply go ahead and do view creators and view composers, so we can simply use them with such kind of sub views. And this is what we are going to talk about next.